People who had no sex education at all and had never ever seen the opposite sex's special parts. How'd you know how sex worked, if you did at all, and which parts were supposed to go where? How did your first time go? This was in 1998. I was M17, she was F18. We had the day set. I drove around for like a week trying to find a spot. I found one inside a wilderness preserve. The day comes, it was late, dark outside. We were in a tiny truck, the front on of the truck, not the bed. I knew it had to be hard, and where it went, and that was the end of my knowledge. So, she had a condom, I put it on, and I put it in. And I didn't move. I just put it in and laid there perfectly still. Needless to say, it didn't take long for things to go south. Now, I had masturbated plenty in my life, but I honestly thought that had nothing to do with the movements required for actual sex. So, it went soft, I was embarrassed, and I got out of the truck. The condom was no longer really useful. She told me to throw it out and try again. I was worried, but she reassured me that it would be fine. She ended up telling me a lot of lies over the next few years. Actually, it was fine, but that was still dumb on our part. Anyway, I manually got hard, trying to hide what I was doing from her. This time, I did the masturbate movements while I was inside her, even if it made me seem like a weirdo by moving during sex, just trying to make something happen. Well, it happened, and I was relieved. Now, to get out of there. I had pulled into an area of the woods where there was a small pull-in. When I reversed out, I reversed into a ditch. Not a large ditch, but definitely stuck in the mud now. No amount of forward or reverse would get us out. We had no phones, this was just before cell phones became common. So, we began a 1-mile walk through this wilderness preserve at night. Talk about being scared. We came across a house, a random house with a big dog. I wanted to skip that house, but it was the only one for another mile. So, we went to the door, knocked, and told the suspicious homeowner we were stuck and asked to use their phone. I had a friend, actually more of an acquaintance, with a truck. I had to guess at his dad's name to look them up in the phone book. I got a hold of him, and then we waited with these strangers for 30 minutes or more. He shows up, pulls my truck out, and charges me for gas money. I get home way past curfew, I'm grounded from seeing her anymore. Of course, that doesn't stop me, I was a man as of that night. Albeit an awkward man. I went on later to marry that girl. This is so rural and wholesome, I love it. I had only seen sex on TV. And of course on TV they never show them actually having sex, so I thought people just viciously tore their clothes off and then lay in bed naked. Haha, same. But I had little brothers, so I knew what a penis looks like. Except not when it's on a fully grown man. So I thought that a penis was always very small and soft, and that it mushed up against the outside of the vagina. I never dreamt it actually went in. Until I accidentally saw porn on a public computer at an internet cafe from a previous user. Edit, for those of you wanting to know why I saw my little brother's penises. Haven't you had to change a sibling's diaper before? Or they clearly never seen the little effer run away from the shower with nothing on. My son did that as a baby, then took a crap right in front of his sister's bedroom door. I have never heard her scream like that before or since. Power move right there. Establishing dominance early. For those of you wanting to know why I saw my little brother's penises. I'm more concerned about the dude watching porn at an internet cafe. Hey, masturbation is already a lonely activity. Can't blame the guy for wanting a little company. I remember learning from porn that the testicles do not actually go in the vagina. Just glad I got that little tidbit sorted out before my big moment. It's a good thing you didn't watch Nuts into Ass. Mental note for later. F, I'm so high I gave gold to the wrong comment, meant to give it to Tate_of_love. It's funnier this way. Agreed, task failed successfully. Farm kids learn by example unless exceptionally dense. I remember my little sister asking why the bull kept trying to jump over the cows. Same here. There's this ongoing joke in our family about how my cousin found double frogs. When I was little, I saw a frog giving another frog a piggyback ride. Farm guy here. My boys knew all about sex and reproduction by age 6. It's unavoidable. Critters going to critter when and wherever they want. I remember one day I was at Grandpa's farm and I asked him about sex. He sort of smiled and said, "Maybe instead of telling you what sex is, why don't we go out to the horse pasture and I'll show you?" So we did, and there on the ground were my parents having sex. Jack handy. I hope that after I die, people will say of me, "That guy sure owed me a lot of money." I think in my previous life I was a king, because I like for people to do what I say. One thing kids like is to be tricked. For instance, I was going to take my little nephew to Disneyland, but instead I drove him to an old burned-out warehouse. "Oh, no," I said, "Disneyland burned down." He cried and cried, but I think that, deep down, he thought it was a pretty good joke. I started to drive over to the real Disneyland, but it was getting late. If you drop your keys in molten hot lava, man, are they gone. When kids ask me why it's raining, I like to tell them that God is crying. When they ask why God is crying, I like to tell them it's probably because of something you did. If trees could scream, would we be so cavalier about cutting them down? We might, if they screamed all the time, for no good reason. Maybe in order to understand mankind, we have to look at the word itself. Basically, it's made up of two separate words, Mank and Indiana. What do these words mean? It's a mystery, and that's why so is mankind. Dad always thought laughter was the best medicine, which I guess is why several of us died of tuberculosis. Farm kid here. I was about 5 when my aunt caught me trying to bury a live cat in the cornfield. I was going to have me some kittens. I still find my reasoning was sound for my 5-year-old farmer's mind. When I was 5, I found a stray cat on our 20 acres out in the woods. We lived in a log cabin. So it wasn't as much a stray as it was just a wild cat. My mom told me it didn't have a home. I felt hella bad for it, and I remembered that my dad gave my mom a necklace with a big shiny thing on it for Christmas because he loved her. So obviously the right thing to do was to put the necklace on the cat so that it knew someone loved it. I was really proud when I told my mom what I did, and she just laughed at me. We spent a long time looking for the necklace, and we actually found it not far from where I gave it to the cat. I remember feeling bad that the cat wouldn't know it was loved. Edit. Well, this was pretty unexpected. I was definitely a very loving, a sweet kid, but then life happened, and I don't think anyone would ever use those words to describe me now. I would suspect a lot of you would not share a lot of opinions I have on things, but obviously loving cats isn't one of them. Oh my God, my heart. May we raise children who love the unloved things, the dandelion, theworms and spiderlings. Children who sense rose needs the thorn and run into rain-swept days the same way they turn towards the sun, and when they're grown and someone has to speak for this woe have no voice, may they draw upon that wilder bond, those days oftening tender things and be the ones. By Nicolette Soter. May we raise children who love the unloved things, by Nicolette Soter. Should note the author. Let me guess, cat wouldn't stay in the hole? They can be uncooperative like that. Cats sit themselves in cardboard boxes. It's like a perfect nest for cat eggs, hairballs, which hatch into kittens. Critters going to critter is the best thing I've read all day. Farm kids learn by example. Hold up. I remember my little sister asking why the bull kept trying to jump over the cows. Ah, okay. Banjo music stops. Starts again. Because the dish ran away with the spoon? I remember my old swine barn had some middle schoolers on a field trip. One of them ran up all concerned that one of them had a couple giant masses on their back. We then had to tell them that those were the board and those were their testicles. I didn't know that I had to be wet. It was a bit awkward when I first decided to do it, but we took it nice and slow and he was very understanding until the right day came. Edit. I thought when two people decide to have sex, they just do it. So when I said, "Let's try again," he thought I meant that I was already wet and we tried it. The right day was that both of us were in the mood and ready to go. I am in my 20s, so we had to take it slow on all the first attempts. Spoilers, geez. You mean, jizz? You like jazz? Still better than a couple my dad once counseled. They didn't understand why they hadn't conceived after trying for a year. Turns out there was a slight language barrier, they didn't understand that sleep together was a euphemism. They were literally just lying next to each other every night. Did they both completely lack sex hormones? How could they do that and not wind up doing it? A mix of a lack of education, religious upbringing, and no exposure to porn or animals mating. Yeah, but wouldn't they want to see each other naked, like a dog that's never seen other dogs do it knows what to do, albeit to my leg, wild. Not when you are conditioned from birth to find the human body disgusting and sinful. Yeah, you can see similar things in the whole purity movement where people are told that any sexual thoughts or urges are sinful and against God's will, only to suddenly be expected to make a complete 180 and turn into perfect sexual partners the moment they get married. I grew up super duper religious. My mom didn't even really explain what my period was. I went to school and they provided information like sex ed and period education, but I never really got it. From the diagrams, I never figured a penis would get hard. So for years I honestly thought that both people would lie on their backs and kind of Jenga their genitals together yoga style. But then I was like 14 and I found out that a penis can go from soft to hard. Like what the F? Is it a solid or a liquid? Turns out if you do it right, it's both. Me too. The first time I touched a hard dick I was shocked. I didn't want to seem lame and inexperienced, so I masked my awe and continued, but in my head my mind was blown. First time I did, I played maybe way too long with it because my mind was completely blown. I couldn't figure out what was making it hard. My boyfriend said it was the blood that made it hard, but that didn't make a whole lot of sense. I assumed there just had to be a bone in there or something, otherwise why would they call it a boner? Jenga their genitals? I honestly thought that people would lie on their sides or backs opposite sides and kind of scissor their junk together. Because I couldn't for the life of me understand that a penis changed form. All they had in my class were these monotone videos and medically accurate images of what our reproductive organs looked like. Never described how they worked for sex or that men were human transformers, so I was shocked to say the least the first time I saw a boner. It was like, and now the classes make sense. Human transformers is much more epic way to describe getting boners. We learned in biology how reproductive organs work, but they didn't mention sex. They just spoke about each individually. I learned about sex from porn. I grew thinking all humans had penises. Like I was even shown a vagina one time and I thought they had tucked it in, shaking my head. Edit, grammar. Fun fact. While not impossible, it's incredibly difficult to pee with a stimulated erection, because your body closes off one tube to open up the other. Edit, come back to 69 replies to a sex comment, nice. People always say this, but I've never had that much trouble pissing with a rod on. Takes some pushing to get going, but the aim is the main problem. Saying that I should be saying all this in the past tense because I'm 28 now and not had that problem for about 3 years. I think stimulated is the key word here. Peeing with a hard one is one thing, peeing while having sex/jerking it is another beast entirely. I argued with a girl from my youth group for an hour about whether it was possible to pee with a boner. Not sure what qualifies her to know, but all the times I've peed with morning wood are strong evidence that it's possible, but she wouldn't believe it. Maybe she wanted you to show her. Maybe she wanted to feel it. Strangely enough, I had a girlfriend that asked to hold it while I peed. I refused at first, but she asked every once in a while as if it was a joke until I said yes. She was very shocked at the feeling of it all. It's apparently harder to aim than we think and pulses as it heads down the shaft. It was all a bit clinical as far as description, and she did end up being a nurse, but it didn't stop it from progressing to sexy time. After a proper while down, of course, no UTIs for us. What an odd but intriguing story. Thank you for that. I think most girls are curious about penises when they are not being used for sex. I've heard more than one comment around Reddit that she wishes her BF could last longer when soft and being touched, just because it's an interesting thing to feel in a non-sexual way. Didn't receive any proper sex ed classes at school or any talks from my parents. I just accidentally stumbled upon porn when I was really young. Like in middle school/elementary school, and as I got older. I did research on the female vagina. Mainly just studied the diagrams and learned how everything worked. So you can say I self-taught myself. My first time was still pretty bad, but it could have been much worse. Our sex ed in 5th grade and high school was mostly here's all the gross STDs you can get, which answered none of my questions lol. Like how do you put a kid in sex ed twice, years apart, and still teach them basically nothing? Looked it up myself in med books a family member had, plus I finally got my own computer around that time, too bad dial-up was slow as crap haha. My first was also my partner's first, but he was not gentle. I'm just glad I looked it up beforehand so it was less surprising visually, but physically it was pretty painful for me. He ended up being a real piece of crap, but hey, I was a curious 17-year-old who just wanted to know what the big deal was lol. When I was 16, I was lucky enough to have a girlfriend as inexperienced as I was. All we knew was that we wanted to do naked, sexy stuff together. It took a few nights, but we figured it out. Just be happy you had a few nights to figure it out. If it was my family, I'd only get one try per month. Edit. Wow, this blew up real fast. To all those taking this seriously, it was a joke. Ruddenly, Alabama is correct. Reddit link. Oh, we were super lucky lol. Those were definitely some staying up until 4 a.m. kind of nights, though. Research be like that. /r/grad school, Reddit link. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.